Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Classic Comics live stream. I am going to be talking about Star Trek this evening. Uh, a couple of, just give kind of talking about the state of the franchise in general, talking about the past of Star Trek and the present and the future of the franchise, where I think it may be heading, about talking about some of the issues I think the franchise is struggling with, some which have been placed upon them, others which have been uh, caused by change in society itself that I don't think you really can blame them for. But Star Trek has a lot of problems. And let's just go ahead and talk about it for a minute. So, third season of Picard is now in progress. I haven't been watching it myself. Now, I know some people like it. There's opinions seem to be divided. Hello, DJ Ronnie G. Thank you for stopping by. And I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter that much. I'm not getting Paramount Plus. That's the bottom line for me. And you're watching it begrudgingly. Okay, hey, Brian Hepburn, thank you for stopping by. So, DJ Runner G, what do you think of it? What is your opinion? What do you think of it so far? Titan equal u.s.s. anachronism. Yeah, the whole issue of them making the Titan this kind of Constitution style looking ship. I mean, it's okay, but it doesn't really. Brian, you're not watching too. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand why they did it, but it's really just kind of, fan service. And that isn't, in and of itself, isn't bad. But I just feel like so much of the fan service in these Star Trek shows is it's just manipulative. It's not coming from a place of fondness for the show. Now, Robert Meyer Burnett, he says that, Terry Matalas, the guy who watched the show, he really is a fan. Okay, so DJ Ronnie G says the bar is so low it is watchable compared to season one. Skip season two. Yeah, that's kind of the impression I have. I've watched some clips of the show on YouTube, and it's DJ says the excessive fan service insults my intelligence. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I see it insulting, but it is kind of manipulative. Like I said, I think it's really there just to kind of, it's like, it's the old idea of jangling keys in your face. It's, they'll show you this thing that, hey, look at this thing, you see this thing you like, you remember that, you like this, right? And then you're looking at that thing and you're going ooh ah, and not thinking about, okay, this story doesn't make any sense, and that sort of thing. DJ says, oh, so you've been watching through Discord watch parties. Okay. And bootlegs. All right. So, but anyway, Robert Meyer Burnett says that Terry Matalas is a fan, and I'm willing to believe him. Look, I think that guys like Robert Meyer Burnett and Dave Cullen, and even the Critical Drinker, who have said that the show's good. I'm willing to believe them, but I'm still not getting it. And honestly, I think I'm just not sure it matters if it's good because they've already said this is like the last season of Picard. There's not going to be another one. DJ says music from Star Trek 3 doesn't belong in a TNG spinoff. Yeah, they I've watched that scene where the Titan leaves space dock, and yeah, it felt very much like something from Star Trek 3. But anyway, series is the final one for Picard either way, it seems like. And they've already said that the next season, fifth season of Discovery, is the last one for that. And I was watching a live stream with Midnight's Edge, and they said that there's nothing really in the pipeline beyond what's in production right now, which would mean and include the second season of Strange New Worlds, which supposedly is going to come out later this year. But beyond that, there's really nothing planned. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about not watching the show because that will allow Secret Hideout to stick around. But the thing is, they're sticking around anyway. Now, they may not work with Star Trek. I've got an article here, and this is from Deadline. And this was back in August of 2021. So Alex Kurtzman inks mega deal with CBS Studios. Anyway, the upshot of this article is that back again, this was in August of 2021, and it says in here that Kurtzman, inked another deal, basically an extension with CBS that will keep Secret Hideout with CBS until 2026. So I'm assuming probably July 2026. I'm guessing that's when this would expire. So regardless of what happens with Picard, we're going to get Secret Hideout's going to be around for at least another about 3.5 years. Hey, Lord Thoth, thank you for stopping by. I mean, we're stuck with them now. I think the question is, will they be working with Star Trek or not? Now, it says, I believe, that their deal is exclusive. So if Secret Hideout isn't working on Star Trek, I don't think anyone's going to be working on it. Um, at least until this contract is up. So I'm not sure anything's going to change anytime soon. Hey, Jay, man, you can't say. Yeah, I saw you have a stream of your own going at 6 with, what is it, Captain America 100? I'll have to check that out later. But thank you for stopping by, though. And Lord Thaw, thank you for being here as a wrench. Also, I appreciate that. Um, so, I mean, there is no getting rid of Secret Hideout in the near term. Now, I do think the question is, what are they going to do next? And like the article here mentions the current shows. It also mentions that Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh, which has still never happened. And I don't think that's going to happen. At least I don't think it's going to happen with Michelle Yeoh at this point, because thanks to that movie, what is it, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's gotten a lot of award buzz, and I think it's really raised her profile, and she's going to be more expensive than ever. And I'd be surprised if she'd even be willing to come back and do it at this point. So while they may still do a Section 31 series, I don't think Michelle Yeoh is going to be in it. Beyond that, I have no idea what they're uh, planning, because the article doesn't really say anything. Brian says, well, I think it was a last and done, so they let Metallus do whatever he wanted. Yeah. He just did a fanboy, including member berries, but still had to stay in confines of season 1 and season 2. Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like. And Thaw says, I doubt that 31 series ever gets off the ground. Yeah, I'm questionable. I do think they will do it, because honestly, I just don't think they have any other ideas. You know, I mean, let's face it, the people running Star Trek, they don't have a lot of ideas that they come up with themselves. Because let's face it, Discovery, they basically just ripped off Axanar, and say, hey, let's make a series set, about 10 years before Kirk and Spock, that has a war with, and where they're at war with the Klingons, which is what Axanar was. And they just basically ripped that idea off. Not to mention, then there's the whole thing of them ripping off the tardigrade and that video game. Not to mention the fact that half the stuff in the show is stuff that Michael Piller came up with before he got the boot. So I think they'll do Section 31 because they don't know what else to do. In fact, I think a lot of the time it seems pretty clear to me that they'd rather be working with Section 31 than dealing with Starfleet and the Federation, because you basically can have the characters be more kind of crooked and deceptive and make a darker show that way. Now, a lot of fans have issues with the current iteration of Trek under Secret Hideout, particularly with the visual style is one of the issues. Another is how the hopeful, optimistic future of Roddenberry and that earlier Trek iterations presented has sort of been distorted, to say the least. Starfleet and the Federation have really been kind of deconstructed and held up for criticism. And then there's the higher levels of violence and the profanity and just a kind of lowest denominator type of storytelling. Not to mention the fact that the shows are, I mean, honestly, they're just dumb a lot of the time, with sonar in space and stuff. I mean, really things that are like grade school level knowledge, you know? I mean, I'm pretty sure when I was like in middle school, I already knew that there was no sound in space because it was a vacuum. But the people writing the show, writing Discovery didn't seem to know that. And but I do, and while I'm not a fan necessarily of this current iteration of Star Trek, but I do think that what a lot of people who criticize it, I think one thing they're overlooking is that there does need to be some kind of evolution in Star Trek, some kind of change as far as how the show is presented. And I'm not saying that what they're doing to Secret Hideout is the answer. It's not. But I do think the visual style needs to evolve. I do think there are some considerations about, how much do we want to do episodic, sort of the old episodic storytelling versus serialized storytelling. And visual, as far as the visual style, that means like the sets, how they're done, and of course there's the issue of the lighting. I also think that how the aliens are presented is something that can be held up for discussion, because I think a lot of folks don't like the changes they've made to some of the aliens, particularly the Klingons. Now, I wasn't opposed, at least initially, to them changing the Klingon some. Now, I didn't think it was needed because I thought, fans like the Klingons the way they are, so why fix what isn't broken? But I wasn't opposed to the idea of making the aliens in Star Trek a little more alien, because I think part of the problem is that the aliens have become a little too familiar. And too often they do really just seem like, let's face it, what they are, which is humans with bumpy foreheads. So I'm not opposed to some changes in that way, although I do think it's debatable as to what kind of changes should be made or could be made, etc. It's a problem really of so often what they've done in this iteration of Star Trek is tried to undermine what has been done previously. And it's deliberate. They want to marginalize the past. And you see that with a lot of these franchises. You see it with Star Trek, you see it with Star Wars, we're seeing it with Lord of the Rings, and with Marvel certainly, and you could probably argue DC as well. I do think another beyond Section 31, what other series reasonably could they do? Now, one easy thing would be to do, say, a show set on board I guess it would be the Enterprise F. I think would be like in the Picard timeline. That's what the ship would be, isn't it? So that might be a possibility. And if they're going to stay in that same sort of timeline with Picard, I'm not really sure what else you would do. And I think that, the franchise really isn't new as far as having issues with how the show's presented and having issues as far as how technology in the real world is going to affect the show. So Lorthoth says we're going to see the Enterprise F in this. So in Picard, okay, we will. So that would seem like a reasonable thing to do after Picard would be to do an Enterprise F series. I mean, we'll see.